Hello and welcome to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. My name is Kyle Case, and I'll be your host on this amazing journey as we attempt to help you get the most out of your life. Joining me in the studio today is my co-pilot, Andy Groft. Andy.
I'm here, Kyle. I'm here by your side, my brother.
It's such a pleasure, as it always is, to be with
fun.
you.
Every week, or Jeff is here sometimes, and I'm here sometimes, and we just really enjoy being here with you.
Well, it's fun. It's a fun show, and we get to talk about a lot of great things and visit with a lot of great people, and kind of talk about life and leading the active life and what that is and what it means, and it is fun.
It really is, and like you said, with the people that come in and tell their stories, I'm getting to where I really enjoy this show, Kyle.
You're finally getting there.
Yeah, it took me a while. I'm kind of a skeptic, but I like it.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome, and thanks for being a part of it.
You bet.
So, Andy, you know that we work with the Huntsman World Senior Games. It's the largest annual multi-sport event in the whole entire world for athletes age 50 and over.
Yep,
You've heard that before.
I've heard that before, and it makes me happy every day.
Yeah, it's awesome. Neat thing. It's awesome. So we run this great multi-sport event, and within our multi-sport event, we also host a multi-sport event that is called a triathlon.
That's right.
Right? Triathlons are kind of growing in popularity. They continue to attract more people, and they're a great way to test yourself, test your fitness level, and just actually accomplish something super hard that maybe when you first start out, you think you can't do. Mm-hmm. And then you do it, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah, you get to the finish line, you think, wow, that was cool.
Yeah,
I did it.
It was hard, and I'm super tired.
And in the middle of it, I was wondering why I was doing this.
I hate this. This is the dumbest idea I've ever had, right?
Right.
So we can speak just a little bit from experience. Yeah. I definitely don't consider myself a triathlete.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself that either.
I'm a guy who's done a couple of triathlons.
That's me.
And I'm proud of the ones that I've done, and they've been an adventure. And a couple of years ago, Andy, you and I actually did the Huntsman World Senior Games Triathlon.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was fun.
Yeah, I have good memories and bad memories, both of it. But in the aggregate, good memories. It was
well, good. It was a great experience. That was not my first triathlon, as I know it wasn't yours. I think it was my third, though. So I haven't done a lot of them, and I haven't had a chance to do one since then. But my first triathlon, I did the Utah Summer Games triathlon, my very, very first one. And at the time, I was the director of the Utah Summer Games.
Okay.
And so I went to my very first board meeting, and I was just excited. I had this great job. It was my dream job. I was presenting to my bosses, and I was just like almost overcome with emotion. And without really thinking, I challenged them as a board to participate in the Utah Summer Games and said, because I'm going to, and I'm going to do the triathlon. And it
really was that.
It was just like that. It was spur of the moment. And I kind of always wanted to do one. And I thought, well, this is the great excuse, and I'm just going to publicly admit that I'm going to do one, and then I can't back out. Right, and so I started to train just a little bit. And then you know what it's like. The closer you get to the games, the less free time that you have. Sure. And the closer you get, the less free time you have. Right. So my training really pretty much whittled its way down to absolutely nothing. So by the time the games arrived, it had been at least 2 months since I had done any training at all. So I was just completely cold turkey. Mm. And I had borrowed a bike as well from my friend. Bike. Well, I had hoped that it was, and maybe in its own little way, it was a good bike, maybe in its own little way. But for me, it was not a great bike. I finished the swim. I got to say, I'll cut this really short, but I was the last person out of the water on the swim. And not knowing anything, with no point of reference whatsoever, I decided I would do the Olympic distance instead of the sprint distance, because they were just numbers to me. They didn't mean anything to me. 1,500-meter swim, I don't know what that means. Yeah. So I got out.
Olympic sounds cool.
Olympic sounds great. Other people do it. I've seen it on TV, so I'm going to do it. So I swam way over to the other side of the lake almost, and then all the way back, which is 1,500 meters. I was the last person out of the water. I'm totally tired. I'm drained. I'm thinking, okay, I've still got a bike and run now, but at least I've got this good bike from my friend who I borrowed, right? Well, unbeknownst to me, he had ridden it the night before and had gone off a little bit of a jump and had bent the rim on the back tire.
Oh, Kyle.
And so every revolution hit the brakes.
Oh, my gosh.
It hit the brakes. And, in retrospect, of course, I should have stopped. I should have adjusted the brakes. I should have just gotten off my bike and done something. But at the time, I was just thinking, just keep pedaling, just keep pedaling, just keep pedaling, just keep pedaling. There's a hill. If I can just get to the top of the hill, I can coast all the way down, right? So if I can just get to the top, if I can just get to the top, just keep pedaling. I got to the top. I thought, okay, I'm just going to coast all the way down. But you know what? You don't coast very well with your brakes on.
Yeah.
So,
man, that was probably a tough triathlon.
That was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I finished the bike. I did the run. Literally the last person off the course. I mean, not just like the last official person, the last person.
But how many people were laying on the course that didn't even come off? None.
I don't think there were any.
Okay, but you came off.
I think I came off the course. They were, of course, cleaning everything up, and it was what it was. It was my first triathlon experience. It took me a few years to get up the courage to try it again, but I did, and it was great. And I'm glad that I have a few under my belt.
Yeah.
Again, I don't consider myself a triathlete,
but you've done a few.
But I've done a few. But our guest today, Andy, is I think what most people, and I hope she herself considers a triathlete. Her name is Tiffany Gust, and she is a mother and a triathlete, and also works in the training industry. And we're excited to have you with us today, Tiffany.
Thank you, Kyle. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you. I know you've got a busy schedule, and it means a lot to us that you would take time to meet with us.
You bet, absolutely.
So you are a triathlete. You've done a number of triathlons, kind of a large number of triathlons. How many have you done?
I think I stopped counting at 100.
So you've done a large number of triathlons. So that's awesome. Now, have you always been active your whole life long? Even as a little girl, have you participated in sports?
I haven't actually participated in sports, but my parents brought us up riding bikes, hiking, very active in that way. And little did I know that I was doing triathlons as a small child, and they were something that I loved. So.
Where they just weren't maybe all together, right?
Absolutely.
You'd swim
let's
one
go
day,
swim one
and
day.
then you go bike the next day, and then go hike the next day.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So do you have a lot of siblings? Or?
I do. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you wrestle as a kid?
I did wrestle. I usually was the loser.
It seems like big families almost always have at least one good wrestling match story that they can tell.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. So you've kind of always been active.
I have been active. Absolutely. Grew up in the Denver area, Rocky Mountains.
Okay. So beautiful area to be active in.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So when did you kind of start picking up competitive sports, and was triathlon your first sport?
Back in 2003, we were in the middle of an adoption that was causing me a lot of stress, and I needed something to relieve my stress.
Okay.
So I signed up for my first triathlon, not being able to run a mile or even swim, similar to what your story is.
Right.
And I loved it, absolutely loved it, and became just I want to say addicted to it. Yes, absolutely.
I hear a lot of people oftentimes will say, once you do that first one, you just get addicted. I have to admit, that didn't happen to me. I didn't feel that addiction yet. But again, I'm glad that I've been able to do a few of them, and it is a great sport. And the thrill of accomplishment is definitely there.
Absolutely.
So where was this triathlon in Colorado, or
it was actually some of the triathlons here. So Utah Summer Games, the St. George Triathlon, just some of the local races.
So,
awesome.
So just to make sure I understand, it was 2003, and how long roughly had you been out of high school or out of college? I mean, were you a mom by that point?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So we adopted my youngest daughter, who's 11 now. So with 2 older brothers, she had 2 other brothers at the time.
So it's not like you were doing all kinds of things like that. You were just a normal mom trying to make your way,
mother of 2, absolutely,
and feeling the stress, and thought, I'm going to try this triathlon thing.
Yes.
You said you couldn't run even a mile at first.
I don't think I could run a mile. I was into aerobics and things like that, very active. But as for running and, keeping up that continuous exercise, I was not doing that. So
that's pretty cool that you kind of allowed yourself to get over that fear and kind of got up off the, when you can't run a mile and you think, holy smokes, I'm going to have to run, 3.2 or
exactly.
And swim and ride your bike.
Exactly.
No, that's really intimidating, and that's kind of cool that you just gritted your teeth and said, I'm going to do it. Who even introduced that thought to you, or was it just something that just came to you?
I actually had a friend that was swimming some laps one day after I was teaching a class, and I kept wondering, what is she doing? And I talked to her about it, and she said she was going to be doing a triathlon, and I thought to myself, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it.
Awesome.
So that was my
That
motivation.
was your motivational
Absolutely.
point.
Yep.
You made that decision.
Yeah.
And you just started running?
I started running and just training and getting out there. Running actually was my least favorite, and I didn't feel like I was very good at it, and I didn't enjoy it, so it made it harder. But you got to change that mindset sometimes and fake it till you make it.
Right. So you started out with that one. I'm assuming it was a sprint distance?
It was a sprint distance,
okay.
absolutely.
And it was a great experience. You
Absolutely.
felt, like I said, that really that almost overwhelming feeling of accomplishment that you feel at the end of a triathlon.
I felt like I could do anything after that. I realized how strong I really was.
And for our listeners, a sprint is roughly a half-mile swim.
Yep.
It's about a 12-mile bike ride, and then a 5K.
5K
at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which are all doable distances, but you string them all together, and it's an undertaking.
Absolutely.
It is, especially for your first one.
Oh, yeah.
And then as you get better, of course, you either expand or you get faster or whatever. But that's awesome. Congratulations on that decision that you made several years ago. That's fantastic. Now, you obviously didn't just stop there. As you said, you've done well over 100 triathlons, and then maybe culminating in the Iron Man.
Yes, I decided back in 2000, I think it was back in 2010, that I was going to do the St. George Ironman in 2014 because we had signed the contract for that full distance race here. And I had set that for a goal for myself. Okay,
so 2010, you're like, okay, I'm going to make this happen.
Absolutely.
I'm going to make this happen.
Built a plan. I knew exactly what I needed to get there. I was pretty excited about it. A little nervous, actually a lot nervous, thinking that, I was going to increase the distance.
A long way. Yeah. So for those who don't know, tell us the distances.
Full Ironman is a
2.4
2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, finished with a full marathon, 26.2-mile run.
So I just want to say those numbers one more time because it's amazing. It's almost a 2.5-mile swim, 2.4 miles of swimming, which, to me, a 2.5-mile run is a pretty good little run,
Yeah.
But actually swimming 2.5 miles, and then you're biking 112 miles. That's like from here to what, Beaver?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Or it's a long ways away. It's 112 miles away, whatever it is.
It's a long way.
And then on top of that, you run a marathon.
I think about training for just a marathon. That is enough in and of itself. 4 hours or 5 hours, however long it takes you to run, and to do that after you've done those other things, it's just amazing.
It's incredible. So, obviously, an intimidating concept and an idea, but you gave yourself some lead time.
Absolutely,
you were planning. So, tell us a little bit about the training, and then what happened in the interim.
Oh, well, I decided that I was going to just build from there, do the sprint distance, and then the Olympic distance, and then the half Ironman. And then I had some unfortunate health issues come up. I ended up having 3 strokes back in 2010, June, July, and August. Ended up having 3 strokes, which ended up finding out that I had a hole in my heart.
Wow. So just out of the blue.
Out of the blue, genetic disorders that I'd had my entire life, but didn't show up until then.
You weren't aware of them.
Was not aware of them at all.
And so the first stroke hits, and that's got to be a scary situation.
Yes, absolutely. Kind of denial. I'm a healthy athlete. I have a great heart. What are you telling me, that there's something wrong with me?
And then stroke 2 and 3 happened. So that had to have been like a huge warning sign, a big red flag.
Yep.
So you're like, okay, something is major, something serious, something is really wrong. Let's figure what this out is. And then they found that there was a hole in your heart.
Yes, they did. And it was pretty dramatic. I felt like, here I'd been so active my entire life. And then all of a sudden, I felt like my life was coming to this extreme halt. And, as a mother of 3 children and continuing, to carry on my daily activities, I was very concerned how that would, affect my family.
For sure.
And almost like maybe a feeling of like no fair.
Yeah.
I've been running and I've been trying to stay active. What's going on?
Yeah.
I've been doing all the things that people tell me to do, so I'll avoid this.
This doesn't happen to healthy people.
And here it's happened to you.
Absolutely.
So that had to have been just a feeling of frustration, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here you are. You've got the diagnosis. Now what?
Time to just heal and realize that I can't do what I thought I could do, or follow the plan that I had for myself. And I became overwhelmed. I very frustrated and saddened by this, and in a sense, frustrated because it was my love. I don't exercise. I exercise for wellness, but I also exercise and do triathlons for the mental portion of it.
Yeah.
It keeps me sane.
So did you think that it was over? Like in your mind and your heart, did you think the dreams of doing the Ironman, let alone other triathlons, are probably over.
I did. I was very concerned that the doctors were going to say there's no way you can ever achieve any of these goals that you've set for yourself. So I was pretty devastated.
I can imagine. So I can just hope that you gathered your family together and you gathered your friends and you got some positive energy that way. Now, you had a hole in your heart. Did they have to perform open heart surgery?
I did have heart surgery. It was not open heart surgery.
Okay.
They put a device in my heart that covered the hole, and then the tissue grows around the hole.
Oh, really?
The device, yeah. So it's called a cardiac septal occluder.
That's
it's made out of Gore-Tex. Yeah. So it's made out of Gore-Tex, and it just sits in there and covers that hole.
So it's still there.
It's still there.
But the tissue has grown over, and so you're fine.
I'm doing great. I'm very, very blessed and very fortunate to be able to continue to doing what I love doing.
Awesome.
So now I've got to understand this part of the story,
yes.
Kyle. What happened to your dreams of the Ironman? I mean, did you not do one? Maybe I missed this because you said this happened just 2010.
2010. My goal was to do the 2014 St. George full Ironman,
right.
But back in 2012. They decided to turn it into it was the last year they were going to do the full.
Right. So 2013 was going to be a half Ironman instead.
So 2012, 9 days before the race, they make the announcement that the full Ironman is going to be in its last year here and that we are going to lose it. And I said, even though I haven't really been training, this is my goal and I'm going to give it everything I have.
And this is only to
achieve my dream. Yeah.
2 years after this traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome. So you wake up on 9 days before the race and you hear the announcement. So on 8 days before the race, what did you do?
I got on the computer, signed up and said, this is a dream that I'm not going to let go without trying.
Yeah.
So
so race day is here. You're in reality, you're not really prepared. Which is due to no fault of your own,
Absolutely.
But you're really not prepared.
I was prepared in the essence that I just knew it was going to be slow and steady wins the race, so to speak. It was not about racing. It was about just completing
the race
and finishing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, many people know this, that if you don't get done with your swim in a specific amount of time, they kick you off the course. So even though slow and steady, you still have to get done with the swim in a specific amount of time. Then you have to get done with your bike in a specific time. That's right?
Yes, there were cutoffs. There are certain cutoffs where they will literally just pull you off the course and say,
so sorry, but your dream is over.
Yeah.
And, it has to be that way. Otherwise, the race just never ends.
Yep.
And so, people will just keep trying and kudos to that. But at some point, the organizers have to just say,
absolutely,
this is the best that we can do. Good luck, but try it again next time. So you know that going into this race, and you know that that you've got to hit these marks. So
I had a 3x5 card in my bike pack that told me where I had to be, which miles at which time, so I could make sure that I made all the cutoffs.
Track your progress.
Absolutely.
And so you start with the swim in a triathlon. It's early morning. Is swimming? Would you say swimming is your strong point? You said running.
I would
was not
say
your
swimming
favorite,
is probably my strongest.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So you weren't as concerned about the swim.
I was not concerned about the swim at all. And I don't know if you remember the 2012 Ironman. It was windy.
The weather wasn't that great, was it?
It wasn't that great, and unfortunately, they had to pull quite a few of the swimmers out because the waves were so
lots of waves, and I was not at the swim portion that year, nor have I ever had that opportunity. But I heard lots of stories. There were kayaks and boats, and there was even concern for the kayakers, let alone those who were actually racing. Big waves, lots of wind, lots of headwind, just really rough water, kind of almost. The worst possible conditions, really.
Yes,
almost.
It was nothing I expected. I hadn't really swam. I hadn't swam the 2.4 miles maybe once since I only had the 9 days to prepare. But I'm a good swimmer, and I do know the landmarks in Sand Hollow.
Yeah. And you just went for it.
Said a lot of prayers and played a lot of mind games, and just told myself to have fun. And it was all about just mentally being in the game.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you come out of the water, you got your wetsuit on, there's somebody there to help you strip that wetsuit off. You make your way up the ramp to the transitional area for your bike. And then what? What's in your head now?
My thought is, I hope the wind stops, because this is not going to be a very fun 112-mile bike ride.
Yeah.
Just stay positive and just believe in yourself.
And so you got on your bike, you've got your little 3x5 cards, so you kind of know where you're at.
Yep.
And were you able to hit your marks all along? Or
I
were
was
there
able
times
to
when you were
hit.
behind,
I was able to hit all my marks, and when I came into the T2 transition, I asked the lady there how much time I had, and she said, you made it by 30 seconds.
Oh, so you were so close.
Yeah.
So close.
Absolutely. It was.
Wow. So now you're there, you know, you made the bike. Did the wind die down for the bike?
Towards the end, yes.
Towards the end, but it was still a tough bike.
It was a tough bike.
Okay, so now you got to run.
Absolutely.
You're not done.
Let's go
You've still
run.
got to
26.2 miles.
26.2 miles after you've just biked 112 and swam for 2.4. So mentally, where are you?
It is just one foot in front of the other. Let's just keep moving, and stay positive, and just feel grateful that you have this opportunity.
You know, Kyle, one of the things that I've seen as an analogy with sports in general, whenever I hear it, it's like I'm hearing it again now with you. This one thing in front of the other, just be grateful that you have this opportunity. Just keep going. It really is an analogy for life, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I couldn't not say that just for a moment, because
how it parallels life lessons. Absolutely.
Life can be hard sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
There's no question about it. And yet we all have the ability within us somewhere. It's buried in there. It's a little deeper for others than it might be for some. But somewhere within us, somewhere we've got the ability to rise above. And you did that day.
It's all about the mind. You can be prepared as you want physically, but if you don't have the mind in the game and really believe in yourself and just stay positive and just know that you're doing your very best that you can, and just keep those positive mantras flying.
So you finished the bike with only 30 seconds to spare. How did the marathon go?
The marathon was long.
Yeah, it's 26.2 miles.
It is 26.2 miles. Very, very long. Finishing up the last mile, just felt as if there were, this may sound strange, but angels just pulling me forward and just helping me make it. Because at that point I was so tired. I was almost like I was having an out-of-body experience. I was super tired. And even though I was running and I felt like I was flying and I was fast, I was probably barely moving and super slow. Grand finale finish of cutoff time is 17 hours. My goal was to make it in 16 hours and 59 minutes, and I made it in 16 hours, 58 minutes, 30 seconds.
Oh my God.
And I was literally the last person to cross
officially finish
the finish line.
Wow.
Kyle and Kyle are kind of
absolutely
spirits,
yeah. But I never could have been prouder than to finish something.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Even though I was very last, I don't really like to be last at things, but that day, I'll tell you what, it has taught me some really great lessons.
Sure.
And at that point, it wasn't about placement.
No way.
Right. Yeah. 2 years, less than 2 years from a 3 major strokes.
Right.
Only a couple weeks warning, or 8 days warning, because it was a dream of yours to do the full.
Right.
That had to feel just awesome.
It was very liberating, and I just felt amazing. I felt amazing.
Like you said, you had to have felt then, and you have to be able to call upon that now and still feel the same way, that you can do anything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Anything you put your mind to, you can do.
Awesome. Tiffany, that's all the time we have today, unfortunately. Great. But what a great, great, inspiring story. Thank you for coming in and sharing that with us.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor to be here.
That is just phenomenal. Well, again, we're so grateful to Tiffany for her story and her presence and her inspiration. I'm inspired. I almost feel like I want to do another triathlon.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same
almost.
No, but really, it's had to have been an inspiring story for those who are listening, because it has been for me too, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing that.
She's a great example of inspiration and just stick-to-itiveness for sure, which is very similar to what we promote at the Huntsman World Senior Games among our athletes. And speaking of which, the games, of course, are over and have been for a while. If you haven't had the opportunity, I would really encourage you to go to our website, seniorgames.net, and check out the results. Come and see how well these athletes have done in the various sports, everything from team sports to individual sports. They've just done phenomenal, so check those out. A quick reminder that registration for teams will open on the 1st of January in 2015, so keep your eye out for that. And if you enjoyed this program, you can listen to it again on our website. Once again, at seniorgames.net. You can log on and listen to this, as well as any of the other radio shows that we have done on our podcast. And don't forget to join us next Thursday at 4:30, same station, for more of the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. Until then, stay active.